Good evening, folks. My name is Jim Worthen. The show is Worthen One. We're here every Friday night from 7 to 8 p.m., repeating on Channel 17 at 1 p.m. on Monday, 5 p.m. Tuesday and Wednesday. The other platforms that people who aren't bright enough to have Cox cable, these funny discs and that really don't work when the satellite gets fog over it or something, you should be on Channel 17 and on Cox Cable. But we'll be available on the internet. You go to TVSB's website, look for the on-demand area, search Worthen One, and I'm there. You can go to Vimeo after Friday night, and we'll be on Vimeo. Just search Worthen One on Vimeo. We're going out live on Facebook, so there's no excuse not to be hearing us 3 or 4 times, really. No, but the fact is you can share the show. There's no copyrights. You can share the show with people. We're talking about the Greek festival today. Well, you can send it to friends in Greece and they can watch it on the internet. It's that broad of access through these platforms. My guests this evening are two. Worthen One with 2 people. They had to gang up on me. The upcoming Greek festival is our topic, but it's also, as you know if you've watched the show, it's about people. I mean, it's not a commercial where we're going to get up and rant and rave to you about an item, this time the Greek festival, but we put it in the context of the human beings involved. And my guests this evening are Nicole, say your last name please.
Botaitis.
Botaitis, it sounds Greek, is it?
It is.
Yeah. And Father Bob Fox, you don't sound Greek at all.
Very well said.
And what's your Greek name? Because that's so much fun.
Haralamos.
Haralamos.
Yes, sir.
I tried to remember from when we were together before about what Haralamos was, who he was.
Shining with joy is what it means. And he was a saint that lived in Asia Minor in the 4th century.
So he wasn't even Greek. He was over in Turkey?
He was in the Greek part of the world.
Yeah. What year?
In the 4th century.
Oh, so that was long after Alexander.
I'm not that great at history, so I can't tell you.
Alexander was 150 BC, I think.
After.
Yeah, he was one of my heroes. He was like me, great, Alexander.
Yeah. Well, you're probably related to him. So.
Yeah. Funny, I've been visiting my family, and we have a problem with the children of the grandchildren. And so, to say, well, this is great-grandfather. Mm-hmm. And I say, no, just tell them, this is the great. so the little 4-year-old and 2-year-old are learning the great, Worthen.
It's so much easier if you were a Greek, then everybody would just be your cousin. So.
No. I thought that was people from Arkansas. This is degenerating. Father Bob.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about your family.
About my family. I have a wife that I've been married to for 26 years now. I have a daughter that's 21 that just started a master's program in Massachusetts at Clark University. It's up over in Worcester. And my son just finished his first year at UC Santa Cruz and is taking computer engineering.
Wow. And you were not born into the Greek faith.
No, sir.
And so tell us briefly, because the last
time
you
because
talked
we did a
forever,
whole program.
Tell us briefly about your journey and the fact that you are a Catholic. Yeah, forgive me, Lord. You
Katholiki, it's a Greek word.
A Greek priest, a father.
Mm-hmm.
Are you called priest?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We Presbyterians don't understand any of that stuff.
Well, you know what presbyter means, right?
Yes.
Priest.
No.
See?
Really?
Yes.
I thought he was just somebody who was part of the hierarchy of the church that we elected even. And okay. So tell us about your journey to from college to being a Greek priest.
I'll be merciful and I'll give you the super short version. So I was pretty much an atheist because I was a scientist. I went to college, had an overwhelming experience of God calling me and saying to come find him. So I went to find him, and through a series of being led in different ways, then I found the Orthodox Church, fell in love with it, told God that my life was his, whatever he wanted me to do. And then through a series of events, he led me to seminary. And you go to seminary and you show promise, you don't leave there without plans for an ordination, especially if you're already married. So
that is the brief version, but one of the highlights was literally without drugs or alcohol, a calling on the mount, a calling.
Yes, exactly. On the bluff overlooking the ocean, actually.
Yeah. That you're sitting meditating and felt the calling of God.
Yeah. Well, not even meditating. I didn't know what meditation was at the time.
Just
I
thinking.
I just sat up there to look around.
Amazing.
So.
And you met your wife in the Greek Orthodox Church as a kind of a youth. Was it like college age? And
yes. I forgot. We have to look back with my eyes now and say, yes, I was just a youth. Back then, I was a full-grown adult.
Yeah, right.
So, yes, I met her in my youth and in college. It was shortly after that experience when I was looking and trying to find where I belonged and where the truth was and what church to be a part of. And God placed her in my life. And I found out that she was Greek Orthodox. I found out she was Greek, and then found out she was Christian, and put the two and two together and asked her if she was Greek Orthodox because I had heard about it, and she said, yeah, she was. And so I asked her to show me what it's all about, and she took me to church, and just fell in love with it from there.
And you're not Greek?
No, sir. They even let us heathens in.
I'm having a hard time accepting Greek and heathen. You're not saying the rest of us are heathen, are you?
Oh, I would never
brothers.
say such a thing.
I love your church answering. Is she still doing the same answer?
Actually, we're between answering people right now.
Well, the answer long after our Easter, both Easters, like
Right.
6 weeks afterwards, I called, and it was, "He's risen." You know?
Absolutely, for 40 days afterwards until he's ascended. But it's kind of awkward saying he is ascended because people don't know what to make of that. He is risen, everybody understands.
You do study Pentecost and all those historical significance.
Yes, we celebrate Pentecost as well.
Even though you're off by a few weeks on everything. For the audience that doesn't know, the Orthodox Church calendar is off the Catholic and Protestant calendars by a week to 10 days always.
It's a week to 6 weeks, depending on
6
the year.
weeks. You're that
Yes.
slow sometimes? Or that far ahead?
Yeah, the equinox shows up at a bad time, and we're just not ready for it.
You could claim, instead of being 6 weeks after us, you could claim that you're 46 weeks ahead of us each year.
Exactly.
Yeah, probably are. I like the Greeks, by the way, unlike most people. Where did you first have your responsibility in the church? You didn't start out as a head priest.
No.
And what brought you to Santa Barbara?
I was lucky enough, this almost never happens, but I grew up in the community of St. Nicholas in Northridge. And I was, throughout my young adult years, I was a member there, and then I went off to seminary. I came back, and I was assigned to the same parish. Like I said, that usually never happens because people know who you are before we're ordained, and just like Christ, you go back to your community and they have trouble respecting you.
Aren't you the carpenter's son?
But it actually was a beautiful thing going back there as an assistant, and because the housing market crashed right when I got there, it wasn't an omen, it wasn't my fault, I promise. Then I couldn't financially work it out to leave. Normally assistants stay for a couple years, but I was fine with that because I loved being there and working with that parish and fell in love with all the people there. But after 6 years, I moved up to Lancaster, California, and staying in the same house because I couldn't sell it. And then down to Anaheim, again, staying in the same house. And
A lot of
then,
commuting.
unfortunately, yes, quite a commute. And then, by God's grace, Santa Barbara opened up, and the bishop asked me if I wanted to serve there, and it didn't take long to think about it.
And even if you said no, you would be serving here, right?
Yes, yes. He is very pastoral, but he can be very insistent as well.
The Greek church, can you delineate some of the major differences? Confession. Catholic Church is a closed confession. Mainstream Protestant churches have a confession, but it's done differently. It's between the person and God, not through a priest. What's it like in the Greek Orthodox?
Well, there's this great joke in the church, which is how many Orthodox bishops does it take to change a light bulb? The answer is change. So we like to keep things as they were originally. So if you go to an Orthodox liturgy, it's very close. You might even think that you're at a Jewish service sometimes because it's so close to its roots. So we keep the original tradition of where confession is done face to face with your spiritual father, so that he can give you guidance as somebody that he knows and has a relationship with, knows who your struggles are, and can guide you along the way. And that isn't the actual original form of confession. Originally, when you sinned, you separated yourself from the community. So confession was standing before the entire community and confessing what your sins were. And then the community would all pray for you and welcome you back in. But then after Constantine came and made everything Christianity legal, and you had people flooding into the church, now there weren't people that had the same discipline of being pastoral to people that needed to come back in. And so they would, instead of doing it in front of the whole congregation, which may be gossiping and talking about you, or breathing death threats in the back of their mind because of what this person had done, they decided to send the priest in as a representative of the community. But to this day, we still say when the priest says the prayers, he always says we. He doesn't say I, because he's speaking on behalf of the whole
Of the
parish.
congregation, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Holy Communion. How is it different? Catholic Church, it's a mass of communion, and you have to be a Catholic to, no matter what your belief in Christ is, to accept communion in the Catholic Church. You can't be a outsider like an Episcopalian or a Presbyterian. What's it like in the Greek Church?
The same thing. It has to be somebody that is an actual member of the body of the church, of the Orthodox Church. You have to be welcomed into it, either through baptism in the Orthodox Church, or if you've been baptized somewhere else, through a conversion process that involves chrismation, an anointing with oil, and your own personal Pentecost, and being welcomed into the church. And we do that because we do believe we are receiving the very body and blood of Christ. Mm-hmm. And we will want somebody to do that in a way that, or somebody receiving it that then would, as Paul says, receive condemnation unto themselves, because they don't understand and they don't realize what they're taking and the great responsibility that comes with it.
Well, scripturally, I can remember 15 years that I didn't take communion. I wouldn't, because I knew I wasn't right. And so scripturally, that's very fundamental. How about ages? At what age do people become right to membership and right to communion?
After 40 days. 40 days, it can even be before that. But we like to follow the traditions as it is scripturally. When Christ was presented in the temple after 40 days, we also have a time after 40 days a baby comes to the church and is presented in the church for the first time. And then I actually have a baptism coming up where
So
we are doing the
you
40
do
days.
infant baptisms,
Yes,
not
yes. So we'll baptize
adult
them.
immersion.
Yes, we do both. But now most of the people that are being baptized, we still do have people that convert and are baptized as adults, but predominantly the largest number of baptisms are people with their children. And you had asked about communion. We don't have that same tradition of the first communion that they have in the West. You become a member, as you said. When does membership start? It's as soon as you're baptized, and as soon as you're a member of the church, then there's no reason to prevent you from receiving any of the sacraments. So it's a little hard for a baby to do confession. They don't have much to say. But then right after they're baptized, they receive communion for the first time at that moment. And then they're encouraged to come up every week.
In my Orthodoxy, the membership comes with confession of belief in Christ before the public of a young person.
Absolutely.
Is the same in yours, that they have to make a statement of faith to the congregation?
Absolutely. There's, again, for somebody that's able to talk. For somebody that isn't, at an infant baptism, you have a sponsor, a godparent that's bringing you in and is taking on that responsibility of raising the person in the faith. So at that point, they're being baptized not because they believe, but so that they will believe. And the godparent takes on the responsibility, along with the parents, of raising them in that faith and understanding what that confession of faith is. Now, our confession of faith, and our main thing that we read, is the creed that was written down in the first two
Nicene Creed?
councils. Yes, Nicene Constantinopolitan Creed. It was written in the first two councils.
Yeah, it's the same creed that almost all Christian churches, in fact, it ends, I believe, in the Holy Catholic Church, and
yes.
some Protestants say, what? And what it means is the whole body of Christ in faith.
It means universal, yes, the one holy universal.
And at what age, though, do you allow children to take communion?
As I said, from the moment they're baptized.
So a little kid can be taken up to...
Absolutely. I get a good workout for my knees, too, on Sunday. So.
Do you anoint with oil?
Yes. We do Holy Unction.
You guys are very close
healing.
to a good Christian church, you know that?
Yeah, we're getting there. We're working on it.
You notice that we do some of the same things, but and this is kind of interesting because it's true of the Catholics and a lot less, I'm sure, of the Orthodoxy, is you can come to my church and have communion and everything, and I can't go to yours.
You can come and worship with us, but I'm sorry, I wouldn't be able to give you communion.
That just seems very traditional. Anyway, Nicole.
Hi.
Say your name again. Botaitis?
Botaitis.
I said it, didn't I?
You did.
But I wouldn't
You
say
said
it
it.
loud.
Yeah, you said it softly.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it real loud because I'd think I was wrong. Where were you born?
I was born and raised in Marin County.
Marin County?
North of San Francisco.
Yeah, I
Familiar.
grew up in Hayward,
Okay.
in Castro Valley, and
Mill Valley was.
And were you in a Greek family? Were you raised in the faith, or did you come to it later in life, or are you just working with them?
Great question. I'd say both on the first two. My dad came to the United States when he was 19 years old from Greece, so born and raised. And my mother is 100% Swiss, and so her parents were born in Switzerland. She was born here. And
so you're...
I'm half Greek, half Swiss.
Yeah, you're one generation Greek American and two generations Swiss American.
Yes.
Do you know what part of Switzerland were they?
Bern, I believe.
But were they Austrian,
German,
French,
German? Sorry,
yeah.
German.
Yeah, Austria,
German.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that would have been more Catholic or Protestant background?
Well, this kind of goes into tying, and now I'm feel because I'm getting this thing. Am I going to say? I'm like, is it Presbyterian or Protestant? But I want to say it's Protestant. But
so where did your parents meet?
So my parents met in a Greek nightclub.
In Greek?
Nightclub
What? Where?
In Oakland.
Did
you spend some time there?
I don't think they let me come in there because I was a Presbyterian. Gotcha.
I guess this was sort of the spot in the '60s, but
then I should know it, shouldn't I?
But no, it's a really I think it's a lovely story. My parents met and fell in love, and my mom had grown up in Mission San Jose, and my dad's the youngest of 6 boys. And my yaya, which is the Greek word for grandmother.
Say again.
Yaya.
Yaya.
Yeah. So my mom went to Greece to go meet this man she loves, mother, and these brothers. And my mom says, she came back and realized, I've got to learn to speak Greek. There's just no way. So she went to school, learned how to speak Greek, and then when my parents got married, my yaya was coming over here and living half the time until I was probably about 7. And so my yaya taught my mom how to cook and the traditions, and her speaking became solidified being alone with my yaya who didn't speak English.
So she accepted the Greek heritage and culture.
My mom loves the Greek culture. Her father was very German, very austere and stern, and my mom loved that sense of family and the passion and the warmth. And so she really gravitated towards my dad and his family.
Her father, because there was uncomfortableness between the Germans and the Greeks a couple of times, called World War I and World War II.
Yes.
Was her father comfortable with her transition into the Greek culture?
I'd say there's probably some tension there, a little bit.
Yeah, these Deutschmen, basic cannabis. That's bad children. Yeah. And I think in my 6 months of freshman high school German, I learned something I learned about the Germans is they don't have the cuss words the rest of us do. The worst thing you can say about a German is Schweinhund, pig dog, or you can say Scheißkopf, which is translated into humanly bodily excretion and head. So what were they doing here?
So to answer, I was raised very much with the Greek traditions, and so when you ask questions about the Swiss side, I don't have the answers as well as I do the Greek piece.
And of course, and it's a wonderful thing I've seen in the Greek people, and that is cultured into being an American. Mm-hmm. Loving this country, and I bet there's American flags around too, even. But preservation of the culture you were raised in, mm-hmm. and I hope each generation of new immigrants are able to do that, to become. We love what we were. We preserve that language, but we speak English, and we're Americans, mm-hmm. and
Yeah, my dad is very much a patriot.
Yeah.
And very.
What did he do?
He is your immigrant story, the person that came here with nothing, and very, very proud of him. Didn't speak the language, and he.
You seem to really love him.
I do. I love both my parents.
I've used that scripture before when I get into religious aspects. Honor thy father and thy mother. And people, that's a dictate, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there's a reward. The next line is, and ye shall live long in the land. So I tell my friends, love your parents or you'll be dead at 60. You know.
They brought you into the world and they can take you out too.
So what occupation, what did your father do once he...
My dad, he did a lot of things. He's very entrepreneurial, but he started a carpet company, flooring company in the 70s. And so it's still there. And I have a brother. And so together they run that, manage it. It's in San Francisco and in the East Bay. And yeah, they're huge. So
that's a wonderful story. Now, how did you migrate to Santa Barbara? What brought you here, and any other family ties?
I have a sister in terms of family ties, but to answer your question, I came to Santa Barbara in 1990 to go to UCSB.
To UCSB?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's been a magnet.
So yeah, so I feel really fortunate. So I graduated from UCSB, and then I moved away.
Oh, you did leave?
I did. I left, and then I came back for a year, and then I left again, and was in San Francisco, and then decided to make some career changes, and I went back to graduate school, moved to Sacramento, and was there 9 years.
Sacramento?
In Sacramento. Got my master's in counseling, in school counseling and marriage, family, children counseling. And then went through the licensing process up there and became a licensed therapist.
Are you an independent business here, or do you work for school district, or?
You know, I moved back in 2011, and I've been really fortunate to have my experiences here be in higher ed, as well as nonprofit, and working with at-risk youth, and also doing private practice.
So you've worked City College, UCSB, Westmont, or
it was
higher
great. I was at Pacifica for almost 3 years, and I'm at Antioch University now. I've been there.
You were at Pacifica. I may mix things up and be wrong, but Eric Davis, our CEO here at Channel 17, was, I believe he was a marketing director at Pacifica.
Might have been, and as the older I get, names they go. But yeah, I left there. That was 2011 to 14. So, but I've been at Antioch now for almost 3 years, and I'm in their clinical psychology program. I'm on teaching faculty, and I'm the director of clinical training there.
What defines an at-risk youth?
Oh, that's a great
we're
question.
We're going to have to do a show.
That's going to go into a whole other topic.
on whether we should have corporal punishment, or I stutter a lot. Capital punishment for kids? I mean, what do we need to do to them? Spare the rod and, no?
I have a story around that. That's in Sacramento, but...
well, we're going to have to have
yeah,
you,
if I tell that story, we're going to digress into another...
Yeah. If I start stuttering, it's back. We for a time lost the clock, which I'm the one who watches as we go through our topics. And now the only thing I question is it right? Or is it to just come back after not being there while I'm stuttering around?
Move back
live
to Greek
TV.
Time.
But you can always fake it if you don't know it. That's what I say. So you came back here in 11?
Yes.
And this is 19. How long have you been at the Greek Orthodox, you backslider?
Well, there's two pieces of this puzzle that would probably tie in. Is one, my parents divorced. And so then my mom was sort of in this thing of, well, this isn't really my thing, but she held it dear to her. And then, but also was ingrained in us, those core things. You know, you talk a lot like Catholicism, how even if someone moves away from the church, those core beliefs get ingrained to you as a child. So to answer your question, 2013, 2013, I want to say, my brother came to me and he said, I'm going to have my daughter and I'd like to be godmother. And my brother had made his way back to the church several years before, and I had a lot of resistance and different messages and ideas and questioning, and but I also took religion very seriously. It's something I don't take lightly. I'm very respectful of other people's religion, and I said, I don't know. And he says, just you look. I said, I have to go get baptized then, because I hadn't been baptized. And so I called the church, and there was a father before Father Bob, and I said, I've got all these questions. And, like, what is this original sin thing? And what is this? And these are loaded words for me. And we were on the phone for 2 hours. And he said at the end, he says, why don't you just come this Sunday? And I was skeptical, but I said, all right. And I came and I walked in, and the smell just brought me back to my yaya, because she used to take us to church with her. And I found it was just a very peaceful place, and just a lot of solace at a time in my life where I really needed it. And so I started reading, and I would read and I'd highlight, and then I'd call up the father and say, I don't understand this, or we need to talk about this more. I'm processing this.
I have a term for people like you, and even in my own life, where I didn't go to church for about 15 years. Great Bible story, but you're a prodigal daughter, not a prodigal son. And the amazing part of the return was you told me how welcome people, a friend of mine even, was to you. Yeah. It wasn't like, I've been serving here for 15 years and you've been away. Get in line. It's God bless you coming back. So.
No, I'd say the Greek church, the community is really, it's welcoming, and it's, to go to a new place and everyone knows each other and they have history, and they really are.
You welcome people on Sunday, right, Father Bob?
I try.
Except you won't let me have communion. We're going to work on this. We're going to change that.
Beautiful. I'd love to give you communion. Let's start working on it next week.
Let's talk about the reason for this show.
Okay.
People wonder why I go through all of this, but they're seeing why. And so you come to this church, and all of a sudden you find out that every August, July and August is crazy in this church, beyond just the liturgies and the communion of 10 months out of the year. So how did you get involved in the Greek festival?
Oh, I have had an interest in wine for a long time. My mom's side of the family is a wine family, and the festival was always looking for volunteers. I think I said, how can I help? And I saw that they had these tavernas and the bars, and that first year I volunteered and really enjoyed it.
Had you been a bartender before?
I had not been a bartender before, but the idea of it, and there was also a nice piece where, especially at that time, I was doing very heavy work with working with kids that had sustained a lot of trauma. So it was really nice for me to step out of the therapist role and be able to just socialize. And
a little sip of wine, one for you and one for me, two for you, two for you.
I try to go back to Greece every 2 years, so especially the years I don't get to go, it's really nice to sit and talk to people about Greece, and they're excited. People come up and they say, I was here 10 years ago, we had our honeymoon here 15 years ago, and they want to relive stories and talk about the culture.
So you kind of worked into specializing in the alcoholic beverage part of the festival, which I used to love before it was a Greek festival, when it was, you corrected me, the Greek barbecue at Worthen Showgrounds. And we figured out that they served till 5 o'clock. All you could drink and all the tri-tip you could eat for $20, I think, which back in the 70s was a lot of money, but all you could drink, and you could even take bags away of what was left over. And at $4.50, you'd get in line and get 5 beers because they quit serving at 5 o'clock. Oh, I'm taking the people at the table, get back, set them down, and where's mine? Oh, you have to go over there and get in line.
These are mine.
Yeah. So you, and some of the things we've discussed, you're innovating also in the traditional beer, wine, and those 2 drinks.
The Metaxa
Metaxa.
and Ouzo.
Ouzo. I know Ouzo. I've had it, but I'm going to have to try the Metaxa. You tell us, well, first tell us the difference in your Metaxa and Ouzo than if they go into a cheap Greek restaurant.
Well, I think the Metaxa is like a cognac brandy, and there's 3-star, 5-star, 7-star, and then they go up into specialty. And so this is the only festival I've known we serve 7-star.
Top of the line.
So top of the line. So to be able to get that.
But he won't let me have communion or a cigar with my Metaxa, right? I can't sit there.
You come to the festival, you can have whatever you like.
Yeah, right. And then comes the government. So you're raising the quality, shall we say.
We are. And then we have the Ouzo. And then we're also, for the second year, because it was a huge success last year, we started Ouzoritas. And so it's our Greek take on the margarita with Ouzo.
Ouzorita.
Which is very refreshing on a hot day. Sort of that adult Slurpee.
And what are you doing after the festival on Saturday?
Recovering.
Oh, no, you're driving me home. We've talked about the pricing because I've noticed prices are going up, you know, everywhere. We don't seem to feel it, and the government statistics don't reveal it, but certain things that we like. And so beer and wine used to be $5, and then it was $6, and then but it's still, compared to going into a restaurant or even most bars, it's still very reasonable, and the atmosphere is better than 2 drunken Greeks fighting in a bar. And I've seen that.
Well, and what I would say is that the wine, particularly, I can speak to that, is really looking at bringing different wines from different regions of Greece and a higher caliber of wine. So people can come to the festival, and we do wine tasting. So we're going to be doing a white wine flight this year. We're going to have a red and white as a mixture. So yes, the wine prices have gone up. However, you're going to get a good pour. And
still under $10?
Still under $10. And it's a good sized glass of wine, 6 ounces, and it's a high quality wine.
So for those of us who just give me gut wash, I get more of good.
Well, I would say we don't have any, what's the word, gut wash? I've never heard that word before, but I get the sense of.
You got to speak Worthen. It's wash. It's not wash.
We don't have any of that, but we have some nice ones.
You mean you don't have a big box that you pour out of the wine? You know, it's got so even good wine comes in a big box sometimes. Oh, it's amazing.
They're doing them on tap now.
When you talk about flights,
So you're going to be able to try 5 wines for $10.
Oh.
And so you'll get a little ounce of each one. And so you can get to sample and see and go, okay, I like that. I'm going to have a glass of that.
So I've talked to other people about how the myriad of festivals, it started with the Greek barbecue, but Irish, Italian, Scandinavian, French, all that followed 45 years ago and migrated to Oak Park, all but 2 have been put out of business by government, by health department, and being its city facility, raising the prices on it and other requirements. Some of the things you're doing, this innovation, like the flights, it seems to me that you have, how do you wash the glasses? You know, how do you know that you're not going to get in trouble as other vendors, particularly in other festivals where they have outside vending? You know, the food truck comes in, or a restaurant from French restaurant from Beverly Hills comes in, and the festival doesn't control it. Tell us your procedure of you said
Well,
licensing and how the food and everything is taken care of regarding the health department.
well, we definitely follow the health department's rules, and we get our permits, and we've gone through our classes.
You have classes.
We do, and we all take them, and we're very conscientious. I think that maybe that quality control is that what's being done is being done by church and volunteers connected to the church. And for example, like our pastries, almost all of our pastries are made by people, parishioners of the church. We have an amazing group of women who I marvel at their energy and the amount that they can put out in their baking. I go in and try to help, and I'm exhausted after 3 hours, and they've been baking for 10 hours. And
a lot of them are in their 60s and 70s.
Exactly, that's why I'm ashamed. It's literally, I don't complain, but anyway, they're a great example of the quality control and the ingredients and the safety and the cleanliness and
Father
the
Bob,
product.
you were mentioning even, what is it, the tactical way of dealing with your permits and the...
Oh yeah, absolutely. Even though the entire layout of every booth has to be submitted to the health department, and it has to include all the necessary wash stations, and for a lot of booths you have to have 3 compartment sinks so you can wash as you're going. You have to show that all of these are in place. And then you have the training of the people to make sure that they're all certified and know what's going on. And even though everything's checked off and certified and you have approved people working in there, still, before you can start cooking on both days, the health department has to come through and approve. So just to make sure that everything is there and everybody is, the certificates are up and everything's being done as it's supposed to be. And you can't cook the first thing until they come through. So of course there's a lot of people that are itching in the morning to start cooking and start getting things through, start preparing food. So you have to have the health department steer them towards, when they come, to the line that takes the most amount of time to actually get up to speed before 11 o'clock. So the first person through the gate can have fresh food.
So the thing that takes the longest to cook gets...
They get inspected first,
at 7 o'clock,
and then the person in charge of the booth says, "Okay, we're good. Fire them up," and they fire up the grill and start cooking.
And your beer and wine is the last to be inspected because you don't have to do much with it.
Correct.
I'm worried though about my glass, the flight glasses. Are they disposable or so? That's tacky for $10 bottle of wine. Anyway,
The glasses.
Call the health department.
Our friend Bill Poulos is always there cooking, and but I also notice about how many volunteers you think in some way contribute from church membership.
Between 50 and 100. It takes a lot of people to move everything through there, and that's not counting the people that ahead of time have worked in pastry workshops and making pastries and making sure that everything's lined up and in order.
I've noticed other non-Greeks there that maybe I saw working at the French Festival 2 weeks before. So are there people that contribute their time and are part of the system that aren't members of your church?
Absolutely. People
But they can't
that
have
love
communion.
the community. Yeah, fortunately, we don't serve communion there. But we do have liturgy on Sunday morning. So if anybody wanted to see what a real Greek liturgy is like, but all in English, we do that on Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. So we do have that.
Liturgy, that's like a
But
sermon.
we don't sell that. Liturgy, mass, whatever you'd like to call it. But they don't approve that booth. I shouldn't have said that. Now they're going to try. But we have we have people in the community that look at this as such a powerful and strong community event, which has always been the focus. Has been something community building, and we're offering everything that we have to the greater community. So we're gathering as a community to bring everybody else together to enjoy this weekend. So people feel that and they say, "Hey, can I help? What can I do?" And one of the biggest groups that does it is the other St. Barbara's, which is the Mission. And we always have a visit from Father Larry, who will show up and put his apron on and go back and work in the food line. And there are a lot of people from the mission that also follows his lead. And the person in charge of our food line actually is a big supporter of the mission. And he always brings a couple of people with him that are just dying to work at the festival, because they, even beyond being there and dancing and eating, they really want to be a part of it. So they say, hey, how can I help?
Very ecumenical.
Yes.
But you don't give them communion. I've got to get
You're-
off
you're- you're
I've
on
got
the
to get
communion
off of
thing.
that. You know, a stumbling block. So again, it's a community effort. Now, unlike other festivals and traditional group like Fiesta and everything, this is really Greek. This is not, you know, the hot dog truck or the whipped cheese, whatever, macaroni and cheese truck, or the taco truck. It's all Greek, and very few vendors. Not like the farmers market where there are a lot of different people selling different art pieces and stuff. But you do have people who are offering their specialty, like jewelry.
Yeah.
But how do you qualify them? It's really Greek oriented, or how?
There are one or two that through an association that will allow to be there and aren't specifically Greek, but otherwise it has to fit in with the Greek atmosphere. So as you mentioned, a lot of Greek jewelry. We have Greek artisans that come. There's one painter that comes every year. There's a potter that comes. So again, supporting the Greek community through Greek artisans. And then we also have a lot of Middle Eastern clothing, which again reflects the Mediterranean culture. So there's one person where all of these requests go through, and he makes sure that everybody that comes is somebody that fits in with the culture of the festival.
My recollection is we're talking about 5 or 6 booths, not
just a few.
The biggest booth, of course, is a pastry with big lines.
Yes.
And then there's Zeros. What are they called?
Gyros.
Yeah, they're good too. I'm already gaining weight. Let's walk through what people see. There's, I guess, next to the liturgy on Sunday morning, the biggest drawing cards are the performers and the food. Let's talk about food first. What are some of the highlights? Like, I love those little Greek things. What are they called? With great.
The dolmas?
Dolmas, yeah, I love those. I go to the Greek festival at Dolmas, and I go to the French festival for escargot. Don't give me any of that other stuff. So,
You want to know how I tackle a Greek festival? I would recommend this is I would go there and I would go get an appetizer. And your appetizer could either be your gyro, or depending on how hungry you are. The gyro.
what's a
The gyro is the meat in the pita with the tzatziki
Okay.
sauce.
Gyros, as y'all call them.
Yeah. Or I would go over to the meze booth and I would get the dolmas and the spanakopita and the tiropita, which is the little cheese pie, spinach pie, and the grape leaves. I'd get my little appetizer, I'd get a drink, and I'd go listen to music.
Okay, what goes with my leaves? Is it wine or metaxa or?
For me, metaxa is at the end of the day kind of thing. But that's just me. It's whatever you like. So, but I'd say some wine or beer.
Maybe it was Orita.
Yeah, or it was a Rita.
So,
I like to eat,
And
so I'm
then-
going to pace myself, and I'm going to get tastes of everything. So
yeah, well, really, the way you're describing it, you start around 11 or so, and you have lunch and dinner because of
absolutely.
what's going
well, because
on.
there's so much good food,
Yeah.
and so take it
Oh, I was
all
thinking
in.
about people who want to spend time dancing.
Well, that's so you have your snack, but you don't have your stomach so full, and then you go hit the dance floor, and we're going to be having our dance performance. Well, first of all, we have
Not yet.
Okay.
Let's food.
Okay.
Food.
Oh, food. Okay.
What's the main
See,
course? What's that big line that goes down along the creek and Bill Poulos has flipping these
I
chickens
know, you get
over?
to watch these guys.
Yeah,
There.
what do you get there?
You get souvlaki and you get chicken.
Yeah.
So the
What
souvlaki
was the
is
first thing?
souvlaki. Those are the pork shish kebabs.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then they're cooking half chickens
Yep.
as well on the grills from the time they open to the time they close, and they go fast.
I thought
And
they were
that's what-
quarter chickens. Oh, they cook a half and
Yeah.
cut it. Yeah.
So
I'm slow learner.
So the beautiful thing about that booth is what gives the whole festival a lot of atmosphere. So, like Nicole said, as soon as she walked into the church, it's the smell that brought her back. So the people that have been to Greece and they know what it's like, as soon as you walk into the park and you smell that meat cooking, you say, oh, this could only be in Greece. And it sets you in the right frame of mind for going through the
Why
rest.
no lamb?
Lamb's a more difficult one because, like you said, prices are going up. And we want to make sure that we have something that is a little more within reach so that people can enjoy more instead of having to spend a lot to get one thing.
Give me an idea of the pricing. The Damas. Do I
Dolmas?
still get 6 of them?
Almost.
The dolmas. That's not my booth, so I don't know on the top of my head.
We weren't prepared to bring prices. As you said, we have one of these bad menus that doesn't have any prices on it.
Yeah.
So
They've been $5 or $6. I
That's-
doubt that they've gone up above
I don't think
Yeah.
that those have changed.
And,
Yeah.
Zeros?
Gyro.
Are they still the
Euros are $10.
$10.
Mm-hmm.
And how about the full meal?
And the full meal, I don't know.
Those are all
I always get
parts,
mine
so-
free.
Bureaucrat.
I can't tell you.
So, but the price, let's put it this way, is
Not gonna-
quite reasonable.
It's not going to break the bank.
Yeah, and unless you stay there for 3 meals, and but even that's cheaper than going out to a fine restaurant, and the atmosphere is incredible.
Absolutely.
Now we have 2 types of dancing. We have the semi-pros that everybody thinks they are, that get out there on the dance floor, like my friend Rob. And are you going to dance this year?
No, not well. Actually, I always come out and dance with the kids. I'm not performing, but I'll be there, of course.
I'm kidding Father Bob because he was a professional dancer, as was his wife, and ran a dance group, dance company in LA. So we're trying to get him out there, and I guess we'll have to give him 4 or 5 of that. What's that drink, Metoxa? And then see the real Father Bob.
There you go.
4 or 5 Metoxa would probably put you to sleep, but Uzo.
So, so those are the semi-pros. Those are the people who about 4 or 5 times get to dance for a half an hour. It's just get up, anybody get up and dance,
Yeah.
and some of them think they're the leaders until somebody else is leading, and then they're not sure, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's great fun. I've never done it. I don't dance.
Well, you need to do it.
I watch it. It's more fun to watch the
We're doing
personalities.
dance lessons this year.
Okay.
Oh,
Dance
say
lessons.
again.
So you or anyone that doesn't know how to do it could actually come there, and we've got a wonderful, wonderful dance instructor.
Great.
So we have Synthesy, which is our band, and Synthesy, and they're
Now,
real big.
Are
yes,
you doing 2 venues this year, or only the main
the
stage?
main stage?
You're not doing a separate venue over on the.
You know, there'll be
Sure.
speakers for music and sort of that ambiance, but so the people want more, a little more quieter.
Yeah.
And then the dance floor.
I
will
did.
have-
I did
the
enjoy
music.
that separate stage on the other side of the food over toward the entrance, but I
Yeah.
noted last year that it wasn't there,
Yes.
and so it's all being focused to the main stage, which
Main stage.
Yes,
There's
and all
plenty.
the announcements that are done from that stage, and they go through the whole park, and so it keeps it a little more unified, and everybody's listening to the same thing, and nothing's competing against each other.
Now tell us about the professionals. I don't know. It says we have 3 minutes, but
All right.
we may have 3 seconds.
Then
Go
I'll be
ahead.
quick. We've got
Be
our
quick
band,
and drag it out. That's what you do when you don't know what time it is.
band DJ, which is going to be great, very interactive.
what?
We have a DJ as well.
DJ?
Mm-hmm.
Like
So he's gonna be
disc
sort of
jockey?
like an MC in between music when the band takes a break. These entertainers are very adept at the Greek festivals all around California, and they actually have a following, if you could believe that. So, but at 1 o'clock is when we're starting with our dance performances, and these are our kids.
No.
And how old are they? The age range?
The kids are elementary school, anywhere from 2nd grade through 6th grade.
And you lead them.
No, sir. I follow behind them after they're done performing. No, they do a beautiful job. We've just started them up over this past year. Again, working with them every week, and the kids are so excited to be a part of it, and all that enthusiasm. We had to bring them back to the festival to be able to perform for everybody. So.
Now, are these just from the church, or are these from several churches?
Well, the first group, Zoe, is our little kids that are just kids from our parish. But then we have the other groups that are visiting from which parishes?
I think Northridge.
We have
and
Northridge, San Luis
San
Obispo. We're all
St.
signed up.
Andrews,
We're
yeah.
So you
coming
do
down.
have people coming in,
Yeah.
both as non-professionals and then the professional groups coming in from
We-
LA, Oxnard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yes, so we have, just so I'll do 1 o'clock is the dance performance with the kids. 1:30 is the lessons. So if someone that wants to come and says, I don't want to see the little kids, but they want to do the lessons, 1:30. And then at 2:30 are going to be the professional dancers. And they are, I mean, wow, amazing. And then the kids will go again later in the afternoon. And we'll have the program online so people can look and see.
And we do have the table dancers.
yeah, tell us about the table dancers, because I've missed him. I want to say George, but that wasn't his name.
George Alexiadis.
I was right.
Yeah.
These things that come out of my mind that I know are wrong, and they turn out to be right. Yeah, he had the fine Greek restaurant down on Montecito Street, and he came and danced each year. And
Paka.
yeah, so how are you replacing him?
So, well, I don't know, he's irreplaceable. But we have 2 gentlemen that are coming that are going to do traditional Greek dances, but they add a flair to it. And I don't want to say too much, but they've got about 5 different dances they do, and it's
And they're
spectacular.
amazing acrobats.
Yes.
Well, we made it even though I never knew what time it was, but I've been accused of that my whole life. Nicole, Father Bob, thank you. I really appreciate the information.
Well, we're honored to be 2-on-1 for 1-on-1. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thank you for having us.